So, okay, I hope you're not going to be depressed by these black large areas. Okay, so I hope you can see. Okay, so the general motivation is kind of obvious and is in line really with what we have seen so far. We want to, I should say, by the way, perhaps, as a form of apology and a defense against my ignorance, that I'm a game theorist, so unfortunately, I know quite little about this area of research. I'm going to bring a very specific and special perspective to these issues, which hopefully could be useful. Anyhow, the general issue for me, the general motivation for me, is to study the behavior of competitive economies where agents may have different theories, expectations, belief about the behavior of prices. Oh, this reminds me that I have a watch here, which I should keep. Okay. And this is, of course, similar to the motivation of the research that was initiated by Roger. Now, the more specific motivation is in this paper and in the previous paper that I did with Aviad, is to study the implications of common knowledge of rationality and market clearing in static economies with asymmetric information. So, first of all, my approach is strictly an inductive one, where the emphasis is on the reasoning of agents about the reasoning of other agents. It's different from the model that Roger was talking about, because Roger was mainly talking about a Muth model, where the issue is expectations about future prices, where here I'm focusing more on agents having different beliefs about the relationship between prices and the fundamentals, what we call the states of nature. Okay? So you could think as my starting point the model, the 79 model of Radner, and so the starting point is really the observation that the rational expectations equilibrium concept, as you can see, for example, in Radner or in Grossman, makes the strong assumption that players, all the agents, know the price function. Okay, that is, know and therefore agree on the price functions. They agree on which price would come to be in each possible state of the world. That, of course, leads to the strong conclusion, or to the strong result, that in at least generic finite economies, prices reveal all the information. Okay? Now, what we want to do, or what I want to do, is to relax this assumption and consider a situation where agents might have different theories about the relationship between the fundamentals and the prices. Okay? However, I want to maintain the assumption that all the agents are rational, and furthermore, there's common knowledge of rationality. Okay? So I'm thinking about a situation where each agent is trying to infer something from the prices that he observes, and furthermore is aware of the fact that other agents are doing likewise. Okay? And again, in a nutshell, the question is, what is the set of outcomes, or more specifically, the main thing would turn out to be, what is the set of prices that are consistent with common knowledge of rationality and market clearing? Now, I just want to make a short comment, reaction to a comment that George made in his first talk. George says that the assumption of common knowledge of rationality and market clearing, and in fact he was right to say also that there is an assumption that the structure of the economy is common knowledge, is a strong assumption. It is a strong assumption, and I completely agree with that. But the purpose, the main benefit from studying the implications of this assumption, I think, is twofold. First, I want to show you that, and for some of you it would come, for Roger it would come as no surprise, that even once we relax the assumption that agents know the price function, even if we assume common knowledge of rationality and market, even if we assume common knowledge of the structure of the economy of rationality and market clearing, there would be a very general class of economies in which you could get a much larger set of prices than the rational expectations equilibrium. Okay, so this is one comment. The other comment, which is in my mind even more important, is that I really, as a game theorist, I don't want to get into a lengthy methodological discussion, given the short time that I have. But as I would say a highly theoretical game theorist, I view the purpose of models, at least the kind of models that I do, are so detached from applications that I never expect them to actually explain what is going on in the world, really. What I hope them to do is something much more modest, and that is give me some insight, okay, about considerations and forces that are in action in a given economic situations. Okay? And I think that the concept of common knowledge of rationality and market clearing, and in particular the epistemic approach, or alternatively called the interactive belief system, is a very useful way to think in a more precise way about how agents reason about the reasoning of other agents. Okay? So this is the intellectual benefit that comes out from looking at such models. It's not so much that I think that there is common knowledge of rationality and market clearing, but it is that it's a way for us, I think, to gain some insight into the kind of thinking, interactive beliefs that may take place. Okay, now this is a very short list of the most related literature, and since maybe I will, with your permission, I will simply return to it if I have enough time at the end. Let me just leave it at that unless someone has a question. The connection to Roger's work is obvious. McAllister and Dutta and Morris have a notion of belief equilibrium, which is related to what we're doing, and related in an interesting way because they actually assume a situation where agents have heterogeneous beliefs on the space that is the product of states, nature, and prices. But this, as I will hope to show you in the end, is actually different from, it's a stronger concept than common knowledge of rationality, because in their model, the beliefs on this product space can be heterogeneous, but there is common knowledge of these beliefs. So each agent knows what are the beliefs of the other agents. And to get the non-revealing phenomenon that I will want to describe to you in a simple example that I will consider, it's important not only that agents have heterogeneous belief on this product space, but that one agent has uncertainty about the beliefs of other agents. Okay? So there's actually an interesting difference here. I should also say that the closest work to this one is by Gabriel Desgrange. And in a previous paper, Aviad and I, so Desgrange proposed a notion that he called common knowledge equilibrium. And in a previous paper, Aviad and I showed that the notion that Desgrange proposed does indeed follow from what Aviad and I view as the more fundamental notion of consistency with common knowledge of rationality and market clearing. And we did that using the epistemic approach. Okay, now in this paper, I should start moving more quickly. In this paper, I want to apply this approach to a specific class of simple economies, which is economies where agents trade in error securities. Okay? So it's almost the simplest thing you could think about. So there's a continuum set of agents there's a finite set of states of nature, and there's just one physical commodity, which I will simply call money. And what are agents trading in? They are trading in error securities. Okay, so AS is an error security that pays $1 in the state S and 0 otherwise. And then we can speak also about the asset AE, which pays you $1 in the event E. We have a bundle of, the result of a trade will be that an agent will hold a vector of assets. We have the price vector. Everything is, I think, pretty much standard. An agent is characterized by an initial amount of money, an information partition, okay, which simply specifies at each given state of nature S what is the event that he knows. Okay, so CIS would be that event, the subset of S that the agent comes to know if the state S has occurred. He has a prior probability, and is characterized by a preference. Now, I'm being very general about the preference because one of the interesting things about the result that I'll show you is that what you obtain is what turns out to be is that the set of prices that are consistent with common knowledge, rationality, and market clearing turns out to be independent on the specific preference and the specific prior for a very broad class of preferences. But it's useful to think about, the von Neumann state-dependent utility function is obviously a sufficiently general class of preferences, and you might as well just think of this class of preferences. Okay, now how does this economy operate? It operates in the way that you would imagine. It's convenient to think of it as operating in two periods. In period one, nature selects a state. Each agent gets his private signal CIS about S, and then he observes the vector of prices, forms a posterior belief, and then chooses a bundle of assets in his budget set that maximizes his utility with respect to this posterior that he has formed. Okay? And in the next period, the state S becomes common knowledge, and the agent consumes the ZIS. Okay.
So how does a price come about? Previous periods?
No. Okay, so it's like a static Walrasian economy, just with uncertainty. Okay, it's like the Radner model, but without the assumption that. Okay, so this theory doesn't exactly explain how prices comes about, just as the Walrasian static doesn't, just as the Walrasian theory doesn't do that. Okay, now, so here's, I don't think we want to spend too much time on this, but under standard assumption, we have the result that the only rational expectation is the fully revealing equilibrium. What would be the fully revealing equilibrium here in the state S? The state S will be the fact that the state is S will come to be known to all the agents, and the price would be PS, namely that the asset AS will have the price 1, and all the other assets will have the price 0. Okay. So what I want to do is, I'll describe to you the kind of general results, and then the main thing is I want to go with you through a simple example, which hopefully will give some insight and some intuition. The main result, so let PS denote the set of prices that at the state S, yes, that are consistent with common knowledge, rationality, and market clearing. And the main result characterizes this set of prices. And it turns out that this set PS is, as long as agents have priors with full support, and as long as their preferences are in this class, this general class of expected von Neumann utility state-dependent function, the set PS is the same set for each one of, you can pick any profile of preferences, any profile of priors, and you would get the same set of prices, okay? And intuitively, the reason for that is that there's so much room for there's so much flexibility in the beliefs that an agent can form about the relationship between prices and states that it really washes out. It can wash out any difference between two initial priors, okay? So if I have two initial priors, I can assign the agent a certain possible belief, a belief that is consistent with common knowledge of rationality and market clearing about the relationship between prices and states, so that his posterior would be actually similar to the posterior that he did get had he had a different prior and some different system of beliefs. Okay, so this is and it turns out that this set PS can be characterized in terms of the following parameters. So you can assign to each state S an event E. We want to talk about the set of agents who at the state S know the event E, okay? And then MISE is the amount of money, the aggregate amount of money that this set of agents have, okay? And you can characterize the set PS in terms of these parameters, okay? And if I would have had more time, I would do that, but I would skip that and just. I think the best thing for us to do is, given the time constraint, is just to work an example. Now, I should say, in light, the other thing we want to know is, for example, what is the information that is revealed with common knowledge of rationality and market clearing, and can we characterize situations in which trade is possible or not. So the characterization of prices also quite straightforwardly gives answer to that question. So we can talk about what is the kind of information that is revealed and to characterize situations in which there's trade. So let me now jump to the example, which hopefully will give some intuition. And the example is very simple. And by the way, it's an example that has been analyzed by Roger and Gabriel Desgrange in a different way. They looked at iteration of weakly dominated strategies, and in this example, they obtained the same solution that I'm going to show you. They didn't do this example, but had they done that, they would have obtained the same result. And I'm doing that simple simply because of considerations of time. So there are just two states, and there are two sets of agents. Agents in I1 know the true state, and there is a fraction delta of them. Yes, and by the way, the measure is uniform here. So so the measure of agents who know the true state is delta, and then the set I2 doesn't know the true state. They don't get any information. Okay, now what do we get? Delta is the fraction, again, delta is the fraction of agents who know the true state. What you get is that if delta is greater than half, then common knowledge of rationality and market clearing selects the fully revealing equilibrium. Okay? When delta is smaller than half, then you get a whole set of possible prices. Fully revealing is still, of course, consistent with common knowledge of rationality and market clearing, but now there are other outcomes. There are other possible outcomes. There are prices which do not reveal the true states to agents. Other prices are possible, and they do not reveal the true state. So I might see a certain price, and if I'm uninformed, I don't know what the state is because I realize that this price could have come about in both states. Okay. Now another.
The agents know delta?
What? The agents know. The agents know. The agents know the parameters that define the economy. Okay. There's common knowledge of rationality, market clearing, and
otherwise they wouldn't be able to make that.
And the parameters that define the economy. Yes. No. They know. Yes. The point is that they know all this, and it's common knowledge.
Who told them that?
What? Okay. So that goes back to what I started with, and the comment of George at the first lecture. I'm not disputing the fact that it's a strong assumption. And I still think that the analysis is useful. What?
It's a killing assumption.
We can argue about that. I mean, I would suggest to you that most economic models live quite a significant distance from the real situation, and yet their analysis does deliver some insights. But I agree that it's a very strong assumption. And the point is that even with this strong assumption, you do get these possibly outcomes that are non-revealing.
No, that part I'm not surprised. I'm just a bit surprised that you get even that.
Okay. So now one, I think, intuitive features, nice features of the solution is that the solution behaves in an intuitive way with respect to delta. As delta increases, the number of possible outcomes, delta, the fraction of agents who know the true state increases, the set of possible prices shrinks, and that's intuitive. More generally, the set of possible outcomes shrinks with the amount of money held by agents who know the true state. Okay? In this case, in this economy, each agent, I didn't say that, but it's written here, all the agents have the same initial endowment, but I would get the same result if they had different endowments and simply looked at the parameters which say how much the agents who know the true state, how much money do they have. Okay. So now let me try to give you a sense of, and that may be the main part of the talk, the main thing that may be new to you or of interest or whatever. I want to try to show how this tool, the epistemic approach, sometimes called also a system of interactive beliefs, how that can be useful, or just demonstrate how it works. Okay, and for that, I'll try to make it as simple as possible, given the time constraints. So imagine now that the delta is a fourth. So the measure of agents who know the true state is a fourth, and all the agents have the same prior. And I want to try to show you how we can construct a system of interactive beliefs that rationalizes, that gives the price half-half as a possible outcome. And to simplify the exposition, I will describe a system that is relatively simple, in which only three prices can come about. This price half-half, which I want to show you, and also the fully revealing prices 1, 0, and 0, 1. Now, think of the economy as consisting of four sets of agents, where each agent has a measure of a fourth. Okay, so K is the set 0, fourth. These are the agents who know the true state. And then I'm dividing the agents who don't know the true states. Those are the agents between fourth and 1. I'm dividing them to three equal sets. Okay, A, B, and C. And two agents in the same set will think and behave exactly in the same way, again, in the interest of simplicity. Okay? So we can effectively think of them really as, we can effectively think of this economy as an economy which has four representative agents. Okay? And now I want to ask you to think for each one. Now I can forget about the agents who know the true state. Their behavior and their thinking is clear. They know the true state. It's clear what they're doing. Let us focus on the three agents, the three representative agents that don't know the true state. And I want to ask you to think about the possibility that each one of these three agents has two types. Okay? TI1 and TI2. And in a moment I will tell you how I'm going to do that, but you want to think of TI1 as someone, when he observes the price half-half, he thinks that the state 1 is more likely, and therefore he wants to buy the asset A1. Okay? While the type TI2 thinks otherwise, he thinks the opposite. He thinks when he observes the price half-half, it's actually the state 2 that's more likely, so he wants to buy the asset A2. And now, think about a system, and now I'm constructing for you a simple system of interactive beliefs, where there are 6 possible profile of types. Okay? And these are exactly all the profiles where I have one agent of, say, type 1, and the other 2 agents of the other type, type 2. Okay? So I'm looking at all the 6 possible combinations where I have one agent from one type and 2 agents from the other type. Okay? This is my set of states of the world, so to speak. Now, take for example the first tuple that you see here. So agent 1 thinks that the state 1 is more likely, and the agents B and C think that 2 is more likely. What's going to happen? I'm going to, in a second, describe to you how they would think what they are thinking, but just take it as given now, okay? So what's going to happen? So what happens if the state of nature is actually S1? Then the price half-half clears the market. Why does the price half-half clears the market? Because the agent who knows the truth state wants to buy the asset A1. The agent A, who thinks that the state S1 is more likely, wants to buy the asset A1. The two other agents want to buy the asset A2. I have a clearing. What happens in the state S2? Well, in the state S2, if the state of nature is S2 comes to B, then half-half is not a clearing price. Why? Because now it's only the agent A who wants to buy the asset A1, while the agent who know the true states and the two other agents, they want to buy the asset A2. Half-half cannot be a clearing price. So in this case, assume for simplicity that the fully revealing price comes about and we have a clearing. Okay? So I have shown you how such a tuple of types can actually generate a price function. Okay? And now, so we can put a table, I haven't put the whole table, where I associate with each triple of types, I associate the price function which their beliefs generate. Okay? And now the final thing that I have to tell you, just to complete, is how do I get these beliefs? Well, that's very simple, because I allow for heterogeneous beliefs on states of the world, on profile of types. So the agent TA1 simply assigns a probability that is larger than half to the event that the profile of types in the population is the first profile. Okay? Okay, so let me, I'm close to being done, but warn me if I'm being too rude. So let's talk a little bit about really how this agent TA1 thinks. He sees the price half-half and he says to himself, there are two possibilities. One possibility is that the true state is omega 1, okay? So I have the two other agents thinking that the price half-half means that it's more likely that the state is S2. Therefore, they are, they want to buy the asset A2, and I and my friends in the same group, plus those who know the true state, think that it's more. I mean, those who know the true state know that it's S1, and my friends in the same set as me think like me that S1 is more likely. We want to buy the asset A1, and therefore that's a clearing price. Had the state been S2, I would have seen the fully revealing 2 price. Okay, but I'm seeing half-half. That's how he thinks. Now he says to himself, of course, there's another possibility where I am wrong in the sense that actually the state is S2, and me and my friends plus the other agent and his friends are thinking wrongly that the state S1 is more likely, okay? And the third one is thinking correctly with those who know the true state. Okay, so that's another possibility. I might be wrong, okay? But I assign a higher probability to the first possibility. Okay? So in this way, I can construct to you a system of subjective beliefs on this set of profiles of types that will give rise to the outcome that I'm interested in, namely to show you that we can really have price functions that involve the price half-half that is not fully revealing. Okay, so that's the main thing I wanted to do. Let me just say that, go back to, and I will conclude with that if it's okay, that one of the interesting things in relation to the concept of belief equilibrium that was proposed by Duta and Morris is in the example that we considered, I mean, one interesting point that comes out. In the example that we considered, we could have looked at a a simpler model of heterogeneous beliefs, the one I described to you at the beginning of the talk, where agents simply have, where the beliefs of agents are on the space that is the product of states of nature and prices, okay? And players and agents have heterogeneous beliefs. Now, if you were to look at that model, it's very easy to show that every equilibrium in such a model must be the fully revealing rational expectations equilibrium. So, to generate what I've shown you, I really need to construct a system where it's not just that agents have heterogeneous beliefs on this product space of states of nature and prices, but they also have uncertainty about beliefs of other agents. Okay, so I'll stop here.
Okay, thank you very much.